At least 5 people have been rescued from stranded cars across Victoria as the state was pummeled with rain overnight, causing flooding and thousands of power outages. State Emergency Service rescuers had to rescue a number of people who tried to drive through floodwaters in rural areas, including a woman at Heathcote whose was filled with water to her feet. Victoria set for heavy rainfall and flash flooding. The SES has received about 1,600 calls for help so far, mainly in Swan Hill, Echuca, and Seymour. 300 of those calls related to fallen trees, with the rest in regard to flash flooding and requests for sandbags. Severe weather warnings have been issued in most parts of the state. Between 30 mm and 60 mm of rain is expected in just 6 hours on Thursday night across Melbourne, central Victoria, the north and northeast of the state. Isolated pockets could receive double that figure. SES Chief Operations Officer Tim Bush warned Seymour could come under major threat of flooding over the next few hours, with water rising to levels not seen since 1974. There is the potential for 187 properties to be inundated by floodwaters and a further 279 properties that could be isolated, he said. An emergency warning has been issued for the area, with residents told to relocate to higher ground. Major flooding is also expected at Rochester, along the Campaspe River, on Friday morning. Authorities are bracing for up to 700 properties in the town to be isolated, and about 1/3 of those to have flooding above floor level. An evacuation center has been set up at the Echuca Basketball Stadium in High Street for residents who need support. Police asked any residents planning to evacuate from low-lying areas to contact Echuca Police Station and register their details. Shepparton is likely to see major flooding from Saturday afternoon, experiencing levels not seen since October 1993. About 600 properties could become isolated and about 50 more properties could be inundated with water above floor level. SES officials have been door-knocking along the Maribyrnong in Inner Melbourne to ensure residents are on high alert as search and rescue teams remain on standby. The upper reaches of the Maribyrnong River are currently under a watch and act for a major flood warning, Bush said. We are likely to see fortunately only a small number of properties affected. For Melbourne, the greatest risk for residents will be between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Thursday. Any rain that does fall could potentially lead to flash flooding because the area is already substantially wet, according to Bureau of Meteorology Hazard Preparedness and Response Manager Diana Eadie. Intense showers will start in the western suburbs, then slowly travel across to central Melbourne before settling over the eastern suburbs about 7 p.m. Eadie urged residents in the city's east to stay up to date with weather warnings during this time as showers may intensify. She said there is the potential for more rain mid to late next week. So we're asking people, while we're focusing on this event, to be aware that there was more weather on the way for Victorians, she said. Emergency services urged motorists to defer non-essential travel on Thursday due to some flooded roads, fallen debris and the potential for landslides. Coaches have replaced B/line trains between Albury and Somerton due to the extreme weather, and the Melba Highway has been closed south of Yea between T3 Creek and Murrindindi RDS due to flooding. At least 100 mm of rain has already been recorded in the northern Goulburn-Broken catchment, and state emergency service officials warn those in western and central regions are also at risk of serious impact. Echuca residents told to boil water on Thursday morning. Calaban Water issued a boil water advisory for Echuca, in northern Victoria, after storm water entered one of the treated water storage tanks, possibly compromising drinking water. Residents had been told to boil their drinking water and any water used for food preparation until further notice. On Wednesday, a slow-moving active landslide forced the closure of Bogong High Plains Road, with people in the area told they may not be able to leave for 3 days. Only emergency and essential service workers can access Falls Creek or Bogong Village, and the main road will not reopen until the threat has passed. Communities near rivers, creeks and low-lying areas in the northern Victoria region were asked to stay on alert and up to date with changing warnings. Damaging wind gusts of up to 110 km per hour are tipped to hit alpine peaks on Thursday and clear from Friday morning. Moderate flood warnings were issued in riverine areas for the Avoca, Loddon and Murray rivers. With large downpours expected, Premier Daniel Andrews reminded people not to drive into floodwaters. "It's dangerous for you, and it's really dangerous for the person who has to come and rescue you," he said. Bush said there have already been 23 flood rescues, a figure he said was disappointing. "We don't want to see any more," he said. "It unnecessarily ties up our emergency services from being able to support our more vulnerable people in our communities during this very challenging time." A number of schools across the state, including Seymour College and Kilmore's Assumption College, closed early and switched to remote learning due to weather concerns. Severe weather warnings are also in place across parts of Tasmania and NSW, with isolated thunderstorms and damaging winds expected on Thursday, along with the potential for moderate or major flooding. The latest warnings come less than a week after a flash flooding event across Victoria left cars and people stranded and river levels at capacity. With Op.